Hey, podcast peeps. Got a good one for you today. Spent some time with Sam Holt this week. We met up at Nuci Space to sit down and talk about his life journey. We explored his exposure to the Grateful Dead and subsequent journey as a fan, taper, guitar tech, and guitarist for Widespread Panic. Sam had a special relationship with several of my musical heroes, Todd Nance, Danny Hutchins, and Michael Hauser. During the show, we take a dive into a song from one of Sam's favorite shows, and discuss the emotions that poured forth from fans during Panic's final Mikey-era run at Oak Mountain. We had a little bit of limited time this week. I think that we both nodded our heads at each other and decided that we're going to get back to do this again. I think we only scratched the surface. But in the meantime, kick your shoes off, turn up the volume. Let's go.
I grew up Middle Tennessee and then lived in Fort Myers, Florida for 7th grade. We moved down there and then moved back to Tennessee, so Chattanooga. So I consider Middle Tennessee, home, or Chattanooga home. Yeah. Todd went to Central High School in Chattanooga, and Mike went to Hickson. But I never got a chance to ask Mike because in the Earth Will Swallow You, it says, his hometown is Boone, North Carolina. So I was like, well, why is it Boone? But I consider those guys from Chattanooga. Yeah. I know when we would play Chattanooga, they would both have friends and people show up that they grew up with.
Did not realize you went to school, Middle Tennessee State, for sound engineering.
I did, yeah.
Is that what got you into music, or had you always kind of been a music head?
Man, it really started for me. I loved music, and my eyes got opened to a lot of other possibilities. I saw the Grateful Dead for the first time in the fall of 1988 in New Orleans, and I didn't really know much about them. I had a buddy that I had befriended who actually went to the same high school together. He was a boarding student. I went to Macaulay School in Chattanooga. And my friend named Doug White, we had known each other in like 10th grade, just knew each other, kind of, just being around. He left Macaulay, but then when I went to Ole Miss for 1 year. Terrible. I did terrible in school, but I got my eyes open to a lot of stuff. And one was my buddy Doug. He took me to see, basically mail ordered and got tickets for the Grateful Dead in New Orleans, and I went with him. And that was just like, oh my God, I didn't know a lot of that existed. After that show, I was like, man, something changed. And I thought, I want to have something to do with music. And then, because I'd played guitar and stuff and played bass and played in some bands, but nothing really serious. And then started being a little more serious about playing music, not super serious, but I was in a band that opened for Panic at the Masquerade in February of 92 in Atlanta.
What was that called? What was that band called?
We were called the Hoodwinks.
Okay.
I mean, we weren't really much of a band other than a friend of a friend got us that gig, so we were all excited.
What year was that, you said?
92. February 92. So then I got into taping in I think the first show me and my buddy Ricky ever taped, and our friend Peter Jackson, who later became Panic's production manager, we all went to high school together. My friend Ricky Supan and I and Peter and Ricky and I can't remember how it got started, but we wanted to tape. We wanted to tape shows, and our first show we ever taped was at the Georgia Theater, Panic, in the summer of 1990, June 26th, 1990. And Peter brought his dad's home tape deck that had microphone inputs on the front. So we just took a couple of cheap, Shure vocal mics, SM58s. I'm sorry, I'm getting too technical. But
no, I appreciate that.
People that would enjoy to know that. We had just sitting on two different stands, in the Georgia Theater, and got power from somewhere from the soundboard. We were able to plug the the home tape deck in, and that was the first time we ever recorded. And after that, man, it was we got mics, and we got my friend Ricky got a Sony D5 portable cassette deck, which was high quality and the standard for all the Grateful Dead tapers.
But a DAT.
Then we got DATs.
Oh, that was later.
Digital audio tape in summer of 91.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just was happy. I was going to get a Sony cassette D5 tape deck, and whoever I was talking to, they were whatever company I called, they were like, you should check out this digital audio tape machine. There's no degradation of quality. And so I got that. And then we started really getting into it 91.
Okay.
And yeah.
So Georgia Theater back then, that was probably right when Kyle was running it, right?
I would guess.
Yeah, it was right about that time.
Okay. Yeah. So I remember that they played two nights in the summer of 1990. And we taped the second night, and it was 200 people there, maybe.
Was T. Levitz there yet?
T. Levitz was not there yet.
He was later.
It was pre-T.
Pre-T.
Yeah. And I remember when T. Levitz joined at first, you're like, oh, that's cool. But 6 months into it, we're like, man, this, I don't know we're not really liking this. We did not really care for T. Levitz, what he brought to the music.
Okay.
But whatever. I mean, and then, a year later, JoJo joined.
Have you always played guitar, or when did you start playing?
I played guitar. I think I got a guitar when I was 14.
Okay.
I remember seeing "Song Remains the Same" on MTV, probably one Christmas.
Okay.
And watching Jimmy Page, I was like, holy crap.
Right.
I want to do that. I want to play like that. But he was always like, he seemed mystical to me, like, he wore his guitar so low. And he had like this beautiful Les Paul, and the way he played. That seemed like otherworldly, But like when I saw the Dead and I saw Jerry, I was like, well, shit, we could do that.
Yeah.
Maybe not to his level, but
was it they had the and they still had the wall of sound back then, right?
In '88, no, they were. I think they retired the actual wall of sound after 1974.
Oh shit, that early.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the advancements came along so quick after that that they were able to carry a state of the art PA pretty much throughout their career.
Gotcha.
Probably always evolving and modifying it.
I'm just a very beginner guitar player, but
Yeah.
I noticed that you don't use a pick.
Right.
Like Derek Trucks, and I'm sure there's a whole slew of people that. Why is that? Why do you? Is it easier for you to feel the strings and kind of where you are?
Man, I was trying to play like this guy named Toy Caldwell, who was the original guitar player for the Marshall Tucker Band.
Okay.
And he was basically, he wrote like almost all the songs for them and was the lead guitar player. He sang "Can't You See" like that.
Love that
he
song.
didn't sing a lot, but that was one of the songs he sang.
And he had a great voice, by the way. Like, why did he not get many?
I don't know. So they had a singer, Doug Gray, who's
Okay.
still doing it. There is a Marshall Tucker Band these days.
Damn.
And Doug Gray is the only original member left, but they're out there doing it. But he was the singer. But Toy was man, if you listen to some like 70s Marshall Tucker, I mean, it has jam band qualities, and they're like, all right, after the second verse, we're going to go out. I feel like they would just be hanging on Toys like what he would do.
Wow.
It was a lot of improvisation and jamming,
I'm gonna have to go back and listen.
You should, man. There's a couple commercial releases from the Marshall Tucker Band. One's called Stompin' Room Only. And then they put out a few more. And they're on Spotify. You could stream them, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
But, man, he is probably one of my biggest influences because I was trying to play like him. He does some chicken picking type stuff. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to play like him, and some of that stuff I couldn't do with a pick.
I cannot get my left index finger. I've had a conversation with it before and said, listen, I need you to bar these chords.
Yeah.
And it won't.
Yeah.
I guess it's just hand strength over time. You just got to work on it.
Yeah.
I'm getting really pissed off at this finger. It just will not cooperate.
Man, I would just sit in front of the TV and watch TV and play guitar with like, probably not really focusing on the TV, but just letting my hands do stuff. And I would play for hours and hours like that. Just, maybe that would be something you could do.
Yeah,
So you're not thinking about it. Maybe it'll just happen easier.
I guess, and you and I are probably about the same age, but it was cool when the internet came around. I think I've talked to several people about Everyday Companion and the tablature that was there, and that made it a lot easier.
Yeah.
But I've gotten a couple guitar books. I tell you what was really fun was during the pandemic, Fender had put out this online like video series that you could do. Start from basics all the way up, chord changes. Anyway, I digress. But that helped me to. I can learn watching a lot better than I can reading for some reason. So,
man, and that's when I was started to first see Panic. My friend Clark Cowan went to Georgia. We were from Chattanooga. He went to Georgia, and we came back in the summer of like '89. Mm-hmm. And he was like, "Man, I've seen this band. You really need to see them." And I was like, "Is it the Grapes?" Because I'd heard of the Grapes. Do you remember them?
I know the name.
Yeah, they were from Atlanta. They were kind of in that scene too. He's like, "No, it's not the Grapes. It's this band called Widespread Panic." And so I saw Panic for the first time. I think the fall of '89 in Oxford, Mississippi. And I didn't really get it. I mean, there weren't very many people there. It was a bar. And I remember these dudes yelling bar stools. And I was like, why are they yelling that? Do they need
they need a seat?
Like some bar stools to sit down or something? And then it made sense later. And then my friend Clark said, "Hey, Panic's," and I was like, "There." I didn't really get it. So in December 1st of 89, they played the center stage with the Colonel opening. And my friend Clark told me about it. He's like, we should go to that. And then that was it. After I saw that show, I was like, oh my God. And they were the band that I could go see in a bar and get up close and see how they operated and interacted. And that was a big, big teaching moment to me, to just be able to watch their hands.
Right.
When are they going to look at each other? How do they know to get out of this and go to this?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
To think about them having shows in that old Uptown building blows me away, because it couldn't hold, what? If you put 100 people in there, that's dangerous.
Right.
And but anyway, I digress. So you're up in Tennessee.
Yeah.
When did you, what brought you to Athens? And what year was that?
Well, I didn't officially move to Athens till 2014.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh.
I lived in Tennessee until 2000. And that's when I got the gig with Panic. I moved to Atlanta.
Yes.
Thinking that Atlanta would be a better fit, because if the Panic gig didn't work out, or if I needed to do something between tours, there would be more jobs.
That's true.
In Atlanta.
Yeah.
So,
and I have to pause you there for a second, because I got a couple questions. Was Lopez? You were friends with Lopez, right?
Yes.
You knew him. Was he kind of the conduit to that job? And
For me?
Yeah.
No, actually, the conduit was a friend of mine named Chris Raybold, and he got his start in '95, spring and summer. In the spring, he started, I think, just following them around, and then he was just him and his dog Bill, and he somehow befriended Richard Kerlopian, who was Panic's merchandise guy. And he started helping him, like maybe load some boxes, or just set up, or like help unload a truck, or load a truck at the end of the night. And then in the summer of '95, they said, I think they just brought him on as like basically a production assistant to help like Richard, or I know he was icing down the buses, during the show. He would make sure they had plenty of ice, and ice down their drinks or whatever. And then he left, and he started going to MTSU, Middle Tennessee State, for audio engineering, because he was into that. And he and I had met originally in '94, I think, taping a Panic show. I was taping, and he came up and asked for a line out of my deck so he could record with his deck. And somehow we just hit it off, struck up a friendship. Whenever we'd see each other, we'd be like, hey man, what's up? We were just kind of kindred spirits. And so anyway, fast forward to 2000, I had moved up to Middle Tennessee State, and we had become roommates, and we were both in the recording industry management program.
Okay.
And I remember in like April of 2000, he said, hey, I got a call from Peter Jackson, who was the production manager, and he's going to leave, and he wants me to take over his spot, which was going to be production manager and take care of the drums and Todd. And I was like so jealous, man. I was like, God, I can't believe you. I wasn't like mad at him.
Right.
I was like, oh my God, that's the dream gig. And so we were living together in Murfreesboro, and he did like the spring tour of 2000. And I was like, man, if anything comes up and they need someone, let me know.
Doing anything.
Yeah. And I was like, and like their original guitar tech, Wayne Sawyer, who had been with them since like 89, I had no idea what was going to happen. But in June of 2000, in the spring or summer tour, he had to go home, and they were looking for someone immediately. And Chris called me. He knew I was a guitar player, and I had been working in this place in Nashville called Soundcheck, which was like a big rehearsal hall.
I saw that online. I was reading your bio. Yep.
Yeah, and so he called me, and then the tour manager got on the phone and was like, can you do this? Can you be here? Can you do this job? And I was like, yes. Thank God I didn't hesitate. And so literally I was on a plane the next day and dropped in the middle of the, no one there knew how to set up their stuff, including JB and Mike. Like, they kind of knew some stuff, but they hadn't set their own stuff up in a long time. So I'm just like sitting there like with all these cases and this gear out.
Oh my God.
Trying to figure, I knew what it was supposed to look like from the audience, right?
Got to figure out how to wire it.
Yeah, so there's all these guitars and all these pedals and all these cables I'm trying to figure out, and I'm just sitting there, man. It's overwhelming, but I'm also just completely excited. I was a big fan. I had kind of quit going in like 98, 99, just because I was trying to get my own stuff together.
Yeah.
And so I'm like just sitting there looking at everything, and someone walks up behind me and goes, "Oh, so we have our next victim." And I turn around and it was Mike, and I just started laughing. And so that was kind of the icebreaker. And
which, by the way, if I can interrupt you,
yeah.
So as a kid, and girls and boys alike, I'm sure you dream of like, hitting the game-winning shot at the buzzer.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you get that call, and like, what was the moment of elation? Like when you first met those guys, because you're a fan first.
Yeah.
That had to, and I know it's been some time, but I got to imagine at some point you're just like, oh my God.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was very exciting. I was nervous. I was excited. And honestly, it didn't go well the very first couple of weeks. I think at one point they had even bought a plane ticket and were going to send me home.
Was that because of the guitar, the trouble tuning that guitar?
Yes. So,
can you tell that story?
Yeah, sure.
I know you've told it many times.
If anyone hasn't heard it.
Not to embarrass you.
No, it's all good. So I try not to get too technical, and hopefully this will be relatable. But
he's got the telly at this point?
He's got the telly. He's got 3 of them.
Yep.
And JB's stuff, it was pretty straightforward, at least as far as like keeping the guitars acting right in tune. But his has this, it's called a tremolo. So it's like the bridge where the strings go, they come out of the body and go across the bridge and up the neck and tune up here. So there's this bridge, and it's what they call floating. So it's like it's fixed, but you can move it with your hand. And he would, do that a lot to get the tremolo effect, or maybe even keep some feedback going, sustain going. So I never really worked with a guitar like that. Like I'd only just messed with my guitars and stuff. And so his high E string kept going flat, like it was losing pitch. And I remember even one night they took Pilgrims off the set list because he wasn't confident that the guitar was going to stay in tune.
Especially with the way he's bending.
Yeah, and he's working those strings.
Right.
And I was like, God, man, what is going on? Why can't I figure this out? And I'm pretty sure they were about to send me home. And then like Mike kind of brought me, I can't remember where it was. It was on the stage probably. And was like, you think you can figure this out? And I was like, man, I know I can. I just need some time. I just need to figure this out. And he's like, okay. So he just put the belief in me that they're going to give me a chance. And I think I know at one point Todd told me that they had talked to REM's tech. His name's, I believe it was Microwave. But they didn't want to go that route. I think they wanted someone that could like learn on the job, or just like a dude that would like
homegrown,
and anyway, so
how'd you figure it out?
I figured it out because one of my friends in Nashville was Tim McGraw's guitar tech. And so I brought all the guitar. We had a break between Winston-Salem and Oak Mountain at the end of the summer of 2000. There was like 5 days. So I brought all the guitars to my buddy in Nashville. His name's Tim Israel. Izzy. Hope he's still out there somewhere. He's an awesome dude. And so he started looking at him, taking him apart, and he's like, okay, give me a little bit of time. So I went and got him like a beer or something and came back. And he was like, when you stretch, so when you put the strings on, you stretch them a little bit so they get loosened up and they're going to stay resilient or whatever once they're stretched out.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, when you stretch them, are you holding the bridge in place? Like, are you making sure it doesn't move? And I was like, no. So what was happening, at least on the E string, was I would stretch the strings, pull the strings, it would pull the bridge too.
So it's not flexing.
So it wasn't like really stretching the string.
Ah.
And once I figured that out, I remember going to Oak Mountain the next week. And after one of the nights, Mike, and also he had suggested a different way to wire up the rig to take some of the superfluous stuff out of it or find a better way to wire it, taking stuff out that didn't need to be there. And anyway, after one of those nights, Mike was like, man, my rig hadn't sounded that good in a long time.
That's fantastic.
So after that,
you're like, woo!
That was the oh yeah.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Jesus.
And after that, it was all good.
Which, by the way, if people listen to this, I'll put a link in the show notes. Sam does a rig rundown at Brown Cat.
Oh yeah, that was at the warehouse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. And, you know, me and my dreamer personality, I'm sitting there taking screenshots like, okay, I have to get this volume pedal. But anyway, please continue. I'm sorry.
Well, man, that was, you know, like, I was definitely excited and, like, couldn't believe I got the gig. But after that, man, it was, like, it was great. You know, I mean, obviously any job you get frustrated, you get tired. But, man, every day waking up.
Nervous.
No one had to give me an alarm clock. I was busting out, ready to, like, let's hit this stage. Let's do this, you know. Like, it was like winning the lottery.
Yeah.
For those first couple of years.
What's your, more broadly, like, what are, I'm going to say a guitar tech in general, but what were your responsibilities? Like, obviously, you're keeping things in tune, strings break, you grab the guitar. But what kind of, are you doing pre-setup before show, after show?
So, you know, when I was there was 3 trucks. The first one that would get unloaded is lights, and they would start putting those together and trying to get them in the air. And then the sound, and they would start unloading that, putting it all together, the speakers, the monitors. And then the band gear would come off. So I would be responsible for all the amps, all the guitars, setting up, you know, getting their spot, you know, measured out, you know, depending on the stage where they wanted to be. They had the same spot, but like getting the distance that they wanted, getting their stuff set up like they wanted. So basically, you know, Mike had 3 guitars. They were all the same, so it was pretty simple. Every now and then, so I would tune the guitars, and usually for the main guitars he and JB used, I would change the strings every day and get them ready and polish them and set at the amps, you know. And they were pretty. Once everything got good, they were pretty like open to like just let me try stuff. Like, hey man, I'm gonna set this setting here and see what you think, or we're gonna try this pedal or that, you know, or something. So basically, get them as ready as they can. Basically, I want them to show up for sound check at 4:00 and not have to worry about anything, and everything to sound good, everything to feel good. Just give them the best potential to have a good show where they don't have to worry about anything. And I was also a bartender, somewhat. I remember when I was leaving after my time there, JB was like, "Yeah, man, what are you going to be, a bartender the rest of your life?" You know, because I would always bring them their drinks and stuff during the show. But, you know, also there would be a couple songs with different tunings. So I would tune their guitars, go out and swap them, you know, if JB changed to an acoustic, or Mike had a couple songs where he had a different tuning, and we would swap guitars back and forth.
So you were still living up in Tennessee whenever you formed Outformation, right?
Actually, I was living in Atlanta.
Lee and Grady?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Grady and I had known each other in high school and played together a little bit. And Lee Schwartz was our drummer, and we met him through a mutual friend of mine named KJ Copeland, who went to college with Lee.
Got it. I've got Tennessee Before Daylight, Traveler's Rest, both on my phone. 90 is one of my favorite songs.
Oh, cool.
I can't find Fast Burn. What happened to that?
Man, so I may have one in the car, a CD player. If you have a CD player, I may have one of those in the car. I'll let you have. So that we kind of self-financed that when we didn't. So the first two, Tennessee Before Daylight and Traveler's Rest, we had like a very rudimentary distribution deal through this company called Red Eye Distribution.
JoJo's producing, right?
Yeah, he produced Tennessee Before Daylight.
Okay.
But Fast Burn, we just kind of self-produced that. We didn't really have a distribution deal. So it's not on Spotify or anything.
I looked.
I'm sure I can get it out there. Just put it on like CD Baby or something. Get it out there.
Where'd you record those two albums?
Tennessee Before Daylight. We recorded part of it in Nashville at this place called the Hum Depot, HUM.
The Hum Depot. That's funny.
And JoJo produced that. He paid for that whole thing. And I'm still just like blown away that he would do that. And we mixed it at this place called Dark Horse Studio in Franklin, which was incredibly beautiful.
That's where I met her up in Tennessee. She is from Franklin.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Love that part of Tennessee.
It's beautiful.
And then we recorded Traveler's Rest and mixed it at Dark Horse Studios in Franklin.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Fast Burn, which is the third full album, we recorded it at this place called it was in Kernersville,
North Carolina. I know exactly what that's at.
And it was a guy named Mitch Easter's studio, who I guess it's still there. He was in a band called Let's Active, and he worked on the first couple REM albums. Fidelatorium, that was the name of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't too long after Fast Burn that you cranked up. You moved to Colorado 2010.
Yeah.
You meet Spanky and Adam. Y'all start up Sam Holt Band.
Yep.
What part of Colorado were you living in?
Boulder.
Oh.
My girlfriend lived there.
God.
She had a place. So.
I hate you.
Man.
Such a beautiful place.
It was a great time.
Let's go hang out. Let's go hang out at Ted's sometime.
Oh man, yeah. Ted has a sweet spot up there.
Sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah.
So you're living out there. You crank that up. A few years later, Southern Angels pops off. Was there an album in between?
No.
Okay, got it.
So yeah, that was just some songs I had put together between like 2010 and 2012. Yeah, and then a buddy of ours named Justin Schnurr, who unfortunately has passed away. He had a production company, and he helped finance that and get that out there. And that's on Spotify.
Another great album.
Thank you.
So you moved. What was the impetus for moving back to Athens?
My wife and I, we got married in 2013, and then we had our daughter Hayden in 2014. And my wife went to school in Athens, and her grandfather had helped her buy a house that they had kept and leased it out while she lived in Colorado, and it was a place that we could go and live cheaply.
Nice, yeah.
And be closer to family.
Cool.
But my wife will tell you that we should have never left Colorado. Maybe we'll get back out there someday.
I skipped over, I think the other day you posted a photo of you in some gangster shades at Super Jam. Do you remember putting that up online?
Did I post a photo of myself?
Yes. You look like a young soprano.
Oh, God. If it was just the other day, that may have been from a Dead show, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
My bad. I may have gotten those wrong. But you looked like a baby in that picture.
Man, yeah.
So back to Athens, how easy was it to talk Danny and Todd into jumping on a project?
It was easy. I had met Danny just through the Panic World, had played with him some. Todd I knew because I had played with Panic some. Mm-hmm. And then Todd was, taking his hiatus or whatever. So we just all decided to play together. And that was kind of exciting.
Yeah, and I totally skipped over, forgive me, 2006 you get the call to come actually play?
Yeah, so...
Was that another oh my God moment?
Yes, very much. The first time it happened was actually like the week after Mike passed away in 2002. We were in Fiddler's Green in Denver, and it was really, I don't even know the words, heavy, because I even heard Todd say, like, he's like, I think Mike passed away on this day, so we wouldn't have to cancel our gig the next week. And I was like, oh my God. But anyway, so it was 2 nights at this amphitheater called Fiddler's Green. And first night during set break, JoJo and the manager, Sam Lanier, came up to me, and I was still doing guitars, and they had George McConnell in the band. I was still working with George and JB, and they're like, hey, we want you to sit in tomorrow tonight. It was Mike's wish that you do this.
Oh, my God.
And I was like, what? And I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And then, like, during the drums that night, JB and I talked about what to play the next night. So that was the next, and then, like, that was in 2002. And then I didn't play with him again until I think it was November of 2005, also in Denver.
Okay.
The last night of the 2005 tour. And I don't know why it came up, but they're like, hey, we want you to play tomorrow night. And then in 2006, in some spring shows, I started sitting in. And then before summer of 2006, JoJo called me and said, hey, we want you to start playing with us more, and this tour. So I was sitting there just like, oh my God, and like, working on songs and stuff before the summer of 2006. And then I was sitting in almost every other night. And then the last 10 shows, I was the full-time guitar player because George left with like 2 weeks left. The
first time Ashley saw Panic, wasn't it with Sam on lead? Or did I have that? I've got that off. Well, but you did see him play, yeah. I don't know if I ever saw you on stage with them because I'd moved to Atlanta and kind of it dropped off for me for a little bit. Of course, I was still trading tapes and keeping in touch, but I didn't actually ever get to see you on stage.
Where was that?
Louisville.
Oh yeah. That was, it felt like I was in a dream. Yeah, Louisville. Yeah, that was off the Palace Theater. That place is incredible. Yeah.
That's one of the places, Mike Wilker.
Yeah.
I asked him, I said, what's a venue you would recommend going to? And he said the Palace.
Oh man, I saw a killer show there in '97. That's one of my favorite tapes, Panic there in like May of '97.
So we're in Nuci Space. I did not have the opportunity to meet Linda Phillips before she passed. I knew of Nuci Space, but I've only within the past year or so really got into it. But you've been a supporter of them for a long time and have donated money and time.
Yeah, the past few years. So there is in 2019, we did our Remembering Mikey show at Terminal West in Atlanta, which we are doing again this year on August 10th.
Excellent.
And we had a poster sale, like our friend JT, who does all my art. He does a poster usually each year, and then we sell the poster, and proceeds from that poster will go to Nuci's. Mm-hmm. And then in 2019, we also had like a silent auction, and I got like the guys from Fish to donate a signed poster.
Oh, that's cool.
And a Panic guy signed some stuff and donated it. And I had one of Mike's volume pedals from like the 90s. I think we got like $1,300 for it. But anyway, that was like when they had just started. There's a Mikey Hauser preamped music program that goes through Nuci's that does like, I think 3rd, 4th, maybe 5th grade elementary school music programs. And I think one of the things that they like about it is there's no like background required. Even if you've never picked up an instrument, you're welcome to come in and do it. I know sometimes it can be intimidating if you've never like picked up a guitar and to do that in front of other people or whatever.
There was a good film put out. It's a short film that Bob and them did where Barry Buck is talking a lot of time, The Silence Between the Notes.
Okay.
And I watched that, and it made me realize how vulnerable musicians and the supporting world behind the musicians was during the pandemic. You guys made it through safe. I mean, it was with the rise of Athens, like everything being super expensive, downtown changing completely. Yeah. It's really hard to live close to town now. It's hard to find recording space or rehearsing space. I love what they do here, and I'm glad you're a part of it too.
Dude, if anyone doesn't know, this place is the best. Like, you can come in and get a rehearsal space. Like, we're sitting in a space right now. There's a drum kit set up. Mm-hmm. There's microphones. There's a little PA you can use. And it's like $10 or something. I can't remember how much it is.
$10 an hour, yep.
It is incredible that they offer that. Mm-hmm. And then if you're a musician, or even maybe if you just are related to a musician or have the need, you can get some mental counseling. Like, I have utilized that. I have been to therapy through Nuci Space, and they help make it affordable for me. And it's been a lifesaver for real.
Yeah.
I can't say enough about it. Please consider looking this place up and donating some money. And I remember during the pandemic, they had like the Gary Vereen Roadie Music Fund or whatever it was called, and the outpouring was ridiculous. I think at one point they're like,
shut it down.
Maybe we don't need any more. We got so much money that, I don't know. It was just incredible. I feel like they were like, they distributed money to people who really needed it. They couldn't like go on the road and work. It's incredible.
I think in the film, the guy, I forget his name, the guy that owns Hendershots.
Seth Hendershot?
Seth. He was talking about how Bob was just handing checks out.
Yeah.
And like, so that, I've met him briefly. He knows my dad. My dad works for Leon over at Ruby Sue.
Yeah.
But yeah, what a great cause, man. And it touches my heart because I grew up in a family of artists and musicians, and, we weren't poor. I mean, we had what we needed, but I can relate. And I can only imagine being a musician or someone in this community during the pandemic, how devastating it must have been. So
yeah, it was. Luckily, I have a day job through a company called TSAV here in Athens, Technical Services Audiovisual. But when the pandemic hit, I would realize, like, man, I make like 1/6 of my income playing shows. I really never thought about it. It's just, So
we caught you at Avondale last time, and that was a lot
inside.
Inside, upstairs.
Oh man,
it was hot.
Yeah,
but it was fun.
That place gets crazy. Yeah.
Well, actually, and this is a good segue. I asked Cody this question, and I think I worded the question wrong. How has so there was a change in how artists get paid for their work, the actual physical CD, whatever. Mm-hmm. Now that we've gone to like mostly all streaming. Whereas before you would get points on an album per album that you sold.
Yeah.
How do artists get paid streaming now? And is it a minute proportion of what it was back then when you were selling actual physical?
Yeah, I think artists can't count on anything for streaming unless you're like
It's pennies, isn't
Taylor
it?
Swift or the Foo Fighters or something. But yeah, it's fractions of a penny. On Spotify, we have this song called Southern Angels. And actually, JB sings on that song. If anyone doesn't know that song, he sings the second verse and sings on all the choruses. But that has 100 and something thousand plays. I don't think we've ever made more than like $1. One way that I can make a little bit of money, it's not a lot, but I can report my live show set list to BMI, which is Broadcast Music International. I'm their performing rights organization. And I don't make a lot, but they do pay you for if you have songs registered with them as a publisher or a writer. You performing live, and there's this thing called BMI Live where you put in the date, was there a cover charge, how many people were there, and they kind of pay out on things like that.
Got it.
Merchandise, I think people merchandise or like Patreon.
That's how they make their money. Yeah.
I'm guessing, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we're lucky enough that we can make enough money from live shows, and fortunately, people will come and support us. That we can do it and no one's going in the hole. So,
I mean, it's pretty music that is being streamed is pretty much just press now at this point because you're not making any money off that stuff.
Yeah. I know I never have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got some cool stuff I want to ask you in a minute, but there's one question I've been waiting to ask you for a very long time.
Yeah.
Oak Mountain, 2002, second night. They come out and do Don't Be Denied as the second encore song. I've never heard a crowd that loud in my life. And of course, everybody knows that Mike's sick.
Yeah.
He's in the throes of his battle. Could you hear that? Like, was it an audible moment?
Yes.
Yeah. It chokes me up every time I
Yeah.
listen to it.
I definitely got chills. I can only imagine how they were feeling. Man, that's like every emotion laid bare in like 3.5 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely palpable.
Good.
From our standpoint.
There's so much amplification on stage.
Yeah.
But I imagine you had to have heard it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Second little question about Panic I wanted to ask you. Musicians, I'm sure they grow attached to their equipment, and you're hauling. You just develop a relationship with your instrument. Mm-hmm. You tell a story one time about you're playing somewhere with Mike, and he tells you that to just use his stack during this show, and you were really touched by that because that is the relationship between a musician and their stuff.
Yeah. He so that was at the Georgia Theater. That was May 3rd, 2002. It was like a Jerry Joseph and Bloodkin and Friends night. It was a great night in Athens. And Jerry asked me to sit in and play a song with him, and Mike was like, "Yeah, you can use my amp." So yeah, that was pretty awesome. That's the only time he ever got to really hear me play, other than me just like playing his rig and sound check and stuff at the Panic gigs.
He encouraged you a lot to start a band. Did that have was that a big part of you? Okay.
Absolutely, because he's like, man, he told me several times, he's like, I think you should be playing. He's like, I would laugh and be like, well, man, I don't trust anyone else to take care of you, you know. I want that job. But then when he passed away, it really hit home.
I'm sure, yeah.
Because I knew if he believed in me that much, then maybe there was something there.
Good. How can people find you if they want to follow you, like your musical projects and such? What's the best way for them to keep up to date with what's going on?
We have a Facebook that's Sam Holt Band, and that's more just like band stuff. That's like, hey, we got shows coming up. I'm gonna maybe post some stuff there, you know.
So you're still doing the circuit with the We Miss You Mikey stuff and Sam Holt Band projects, right?
It's kind of morphed into one at this point.
Okay.
So like we're doing, and then I'm most active on Instagram, which is at Sam Holt Band, and that's me posting just like whatever comes to mind.
I love it.
Personal stuff. Oh, listen to Mike rip this from 1993 or whatever, or just old photos. But that's where I am most active. But yeah, so, we probably play like 20 shows a year now, I guess. And you're usually, it's like Sam Holt Band presents Remembering Mikey. Well, that's what we're doing coming up, August
10th,
8th, 9th, and 10th.
Oh, got it.
So the 8th is in Charlotte at the Visualite. The 9th is at Poorhouse in Charleston. The 10th is at Terminal West.
Excellent.
And the 10th is the actual day that Mike passed away. So that's I think we've done a show on August 10th for probably 10 years now, maybe longer.
I have still not been to Terminal West. I've been to Pullman Yards. Cool. And what was the Eastern? We went and saw Les Claypool.
Okay.
But I have not been to Terminal. I have to come check it out.
It's cool, man. It's smaller. It's probably like 1/3 the size of the Eastern. And it's set up a little different.
Sweet.
I really like it. It's made for performance.
Okay.
Nice stage and production, and there's like a bar on each, like a big floor, and then a bar on each side back here, and here's the stage. It's a really cool venue.
Any music you're listening to that you could turn me on to? I know you're a big Panic guy like I am, but is there anything spinning on your phone at home or that you could turn me on to?
So there's a band. I know this band from Colorado. They're called Addie Tonic, ADDIE, and then Tonic, TONIC. It's really cool, like little pop songs with some distortion. The singer is named Megan Jordan, and the guitar player is named Matt Youngblood, and they have some cool like pop songs. It's not super jammy, but I really like it. I like her voice and the hooks and stuff.
Yeah.
I've been listening to that some. I listened to a lot of Jim Cornette, who was a wrestling manager.
Was he?
Yeah, I listened to him. He has 2 podcasts, the Jim Cornette Experience and the Jim Cornette Drive-Thru. But he was like a professional wrestling manager in the 80s and 90s. I know that's kind of weird, but I don't know. I used to love wrestling back then, and just listening to him is.
Oh, I was a Four Horsemen guy.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I'm with you. You don't have to defend that.
Midnight. He was the manager of the Midnight Express.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm trying to think of other music, but I religiously listen to his podcast every week.
Okay, I'm going to tune in.
It is such an escape for me, to listen to that. It can make the time go by like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like Lucas Nelson a lot.
You turn me on to him.
Yeah, he's cool.
Have you checked out Goose yet?
I have listened to a little bit. A friend of mine was definitely trying to be like, hey, you should listen to this. So I've listened to a little bit.
It's a little different.
Yeah.
Their shows are the energy is amazing, and they'll break out shit like they did. We saw them at Pullman, and they did Pumped Up Kicks. You remember that song?
Yeah.
And they did Shamalama Ding Dong, which is who plays it?
Yeah.
It was really good.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, they definitely have a buzz and people talking about them. I try to stay off Twitter.
Yeah, I can't do it.
Because I'll post stuff on there, for like, hey, we got shows coming up. And it's just, oh my God, I feel like they're just trying to trigger me. Every scroll is like another way to try to get you upset or keep you engaged. And I don't know. I don't know why I thought of that. I feel like I've seen some Goose stuff on there that's like, it's people trashing it. And I'm like, I don't want to read about people hating stuff.
Yeah. I took a couple of years off of Facebook because I was so exhausted from those first couple of Trump years.
Yeah.
I was just, I think it was like a 2-year break, and I came back as Henry Parsons so I could find new friends.
Yeah.
But it can be exhausting.
Yeah, it's a lot, man. I have Instagram. Luckily, I'm still have joy and don't get dragged down into a lot of stuff I don't want to.
It's mostly pictures, which is all I care about.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's some people I follow on there, and yeah.
How's your daughter doing? How's dad life?
Dad life is good. We have her daughter Hayden, and she's 10, and it's an adventure, man.
Yeah.
To keep her off the iPad, but also let her explore, because I feel like the more I'm like, don't do this, the more she's going to want to do it.
My kids are the same way.
How many kids do you have?
So I've got a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Awesome.
And I'm actually a granddad.
Wow.
I had my first one when I was 21, and she's like 29.
Yeah.
Yes. So.
Wow.
But I feel like video games, I have the same battle with screen time that I feel like my parents had with video games with us. Do you feel that way too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And their parents had with like Elvis Presley, like you can't be listening to that. That's the devil. Everything's going to hell. He's shaking his hips. So I mean, I try to keep that perspective too, but also, it's a crazy world to navigate. I almost feel bad for these kids having to fight just constant stimulation and people trying to take their attention and money.
Mm-hmm. Well, shout out to you and Adam and Ross and Jeremy.
Yeah.
We had a great time at Avondale. I can't wait to see you guys again. I'm going to come to Terminal. We'll come and check it out. There's a lot of venues that I didn't know about the Easter until she had that show that she took me to. And so getting out and rediscovering some of this stuff is going to be good for me. And I'm a lingering lead fan until I die.
Yeah, man.
So thank you for keeping that music alive.
Yeah.
Your Instagram gives me a lot of joy because you do throw up snippets of shows and you'll scroll through the song list.
Yeah.
And then go to like the Gary written down part.
Yeah.
And so I'm watching, man.
Yeah.
I'm watching.
Yeah, I posted something today that was 32 years. I can't remember. It was 6/18/92. My friend Ricky taped it, who we started taping together, and I noticed like the end of the show wasn't on Panic Stream, so I found my tape or our old DAT tape and transferred it and put some of it on Instagram today.
Nice.
Anyway, I still have tapes that I'm trying to transfer and get out into the world because if they're not on Panic Streamer, they're not in circulation, Panic tapes, I'm trying to make sure they get out there so they will live on somehow.
Thanks for coming by, man.
Yeah,
I've been wanting to meet you for a long time.
Shoot,
Sam
thanks,
Holt,
man.
I love you.
Oh shit! Right back at you, man. I love you. I love Ashley. I love everything.
Don't you? She's gonna have me loop that. Thanks a lot, Sam.
Okay.
Choice was made. Underneath the smiling grief, blink back the tears. The show goes on, not as strong when you're not here. Love the art, not the artist. 1,000 cheers in the crowd. Southern don't